grading some books, and a lot of my collection, I haven't had an opportunity to do a deep dive into the grade. Um, I just kind of eyeball it, through the bag and board, and I have it kind of. I have a spreadsheet of all my comics, and I have them all pretty much graded out, um, but nothing that's in detail. Nothing that would, it's not um, basically, it's not really verified. Like I haven't. It's just a loose grading. Um, Nothing in depth. Again, kind of unreliable in terms of what I have on that spreadsheet. But yesterday we were able to grade three books. Um, we came to the conclusion that one book was like a 3.0, another was like a 6.0, and the other book was like a 9.0. Um, and I felt pretty good about those grades. I definitely felt confident enough to that would be the data going forward in my spreadsheet. Um, so I just thought I'd continue. This is probably something that you're going to continue to see. I'm going to continue to grade books and just kind of share that process with you as I go through it. And some of these older books we're going to just kind of clean and try to make it try to get some of the white areas wider, um, and definitely get some of the dinge off some of the older books. And then we'll grade it as we're going along. So hopefully, this kind of content is entertaining. Cool thing about when I do it is I'm going to just go over my thoughts on the book and my thought process on the grading, and ramble as I go about. So it should be a fun time, or at least it's interesting for me. Just love to ramble. So here we go. Let me just get the camera down here, get the angle of the comic, and I'm actually going to grade, I think, 4 books tonight, and we'll just go from there. We'll go from we'll just go. We'll try to address these 4 books, but we're going to start here with a comic that I got as part of a trade from Norenrad, and beautiful book, but it's got its issues. The first and foremost is writing on the comic. Now, writing on the comic doesn't necessarily affect the grade. I don't know why it doesn't. I mean, it affects the grade in the sense that if there's writing on a comic, it cannot be near mint. Okay. So any kind of writing on the comic, unless it's like a signature again, it's going to drop it down. Doesn't matter where it's positioned on the book, but it's going to drop it to out of the 9.0 range. So let's say this was just a near mint book. Just the fact that it had this Amy there would drop it to an 8.5, even though the rest of the book is like a near mint. this pen writing especially is like just the worst because it's indenting the book, it's causing damage. The more ideal type of writing on the comic you'd want to see is like a, like a permanent marker or something like a felt tipped, where it's not doing anything to put an impression on the book. But having said that, this doesn't look good. Having Amy written on in the middle of your comic is not a good thing. But it is what it is, like there's no way to really erase that or get rid of that. So moving forward, that's just going to be part of this book forever and ever, for the life of this book. Now, this does present really well. Like, there aren't really major creases. So there's nothing major on this book. Everything's going to be small to moderate defects. Moderate or less in terms of defects. And the biggest moderate defect, or I guess you could classify it as major as well, is the spine split. There's a spine split. It just looks like the focus there. This camera just is the worst. I hate. Sometimes, I just hate Microsoft. Got a Microsoft camera. Yeah, this is the extent of and so when you focus on that, it looks really bad, right? But in the overall arching, like when you look at the book, that's not noticeable until you get really close up. So overall, even with that defect, this is going to lead more toward good than fair. Do you get my drift? Just because of the appearance. Like when people judge the book, right, you're going off like first impression of the book. So everything looks good, but then when you get in, there's that defect. Now, if this were just like tattered and, worn and like really didn't look good, and you had that defect, of course, everything would tilt toward fair as opposed to good. Now, this is a book that, because of this major defect, you are automatically dropping it to around the VG. So yeah, around the good grade, VG minus good grade. Just with that one big major defect. And we're going to say major because even though it's like an inch, like it looks like it's a spine split, and the pages have been damaged here as well. Looks like the cover's still attached, but we won't know until we actually go in. But this is a book I may have taken it out of the bag and board to put in another one, but I haven't cleaned it or done anything to it at this point. So that's what we're going to kind of focus on. We're going to try to get some of the dust and dinge off, maybe do some eraser on the spine, just get it in some of the white areas here, just do a very light erasing session, and see if we can't get it presenting just a little better. All right, so let's get the book out here. All right, so this is where we're working with. And first off, we're just going to count the page and make sure there's nothing missing. There's no, like cutouts or anything like that. So we're just going to do a very basic page count. And I'm going to try to spit up or barf on my comic here. So yeah, the spine split. It's pretty, there's a lot of browning. The pages aren't brittle, but it's like heading there, right? So I'm going to be very careful with this book. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have a cutout. Okay. So this is another major flaw of the book. We have a cutout. As you can see it right there. You can see my hand. It's like so, we went from a good to a probably solely profit to a fair. I mean, it could still technically be a good comic, but it's that's another major flaw. Cutout is not good. Just means like the comic is not whole. It's kind of like if you had a big rip on the back cover or front cover, right? It just signifies it's like the equivalent of that. Even though it looks great, it's the equivalent of like having a big tear or chunk missing out of the cover. So yeah, this is kind of now leaning toward between good and fair. So I'm thinking somewhere in the 2.0 range, probably. Yeah, probably in the 2.0 range. Now we're going to look at this spine split. It is it's pretty bad. I mean, it's not. I've seen worse, but what's bad here is like it's flaking off, and it's not just the spine or not the cover, but the pages of the book as well. The pages are like you can see right there. It's kind of tearing open. So yeah, that's it's a major flaw. And the cover is just barely hanging on. So, our plans with the eraser, we're going to kind of hold off on that. I don't think this needs a erasing, and it's not really going to benefit much. I mean, I'm gonna give it a little attempt here on the edge, just really lightly, but it's the paper is so brittle. I don't even know if that's worth pursuing. It's not really doing anything, so I'm not gonna waste time doing that. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just do a light. I'm gonna put some bleach cleaning agent here on my okay. Now we're just gonna do a nice rub down on it. Hopefully get some of the dinge off at least. And this I'm sure will pick up a lot of dinge and dirt. That could get it looking a little nicer. Again, we're trying to, at this point, we're trying to get it kind of in the 2.0 range. And in order to get in the 2.0 range, it really has to, I think, pop visually. Because again, that missing a section, this is why you should open up your comics and not assume, especially your older books, just don't assume it's a complete book. And like if I'm to now catalog this in my system, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the notes like, hey, this is a low grade book, good to fair grade book. But also what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the note that there's a cutout of the interior of the book. And that'll kind of qualify why it's a fair grade book. Because just looking at this is, this would be, I would put this in the VG range. But the reason we're now leaning toward fair is, again, the damage here on the spine and that cutout. So, and in a lot of instances, a lot of people might say, no, well, that's being a little harsh, right? 2 major defects doesn't necessarily mean that the book is fair. 2 major defects could still keep it in the good range. And that's why I'm kind of keeping it in the 2.0. I think a 2.0 is a fair grade on this one. I mean, again, outside of those 2 major flaws, the book looks really, really nice. And it's, I'm getting a lot of the dust and dinge off here. So hopefully this will, I mean, if it were to get like a professional grading, I think just having it present really nicely does this book a lot of favors with all that. But yeah, I mean, if we were to send this in, I think CGC would definitely grade it like a 2.0. Pretty confident it'd come back at 2.0. Like a 1.5 would have these same issues, but not present as well. So that's what's, if anything's leading me to believe this would get a 2.0, it's just because it isn't as it doesn't look as bad as it actually is. Yeah, see, like this was a considerable amount of dirt on there, and I would really go at the spine here if it weren't so. I'm just gonna try to get some of that dust off. Okay, this really helps. Okay. I don't even want to like touch that corner there. All right, let's just flip it around and see the back. I think here, this might not be a bad thing to just apply some eraser on. Let's just be really gentle with it here. All right, first we are gonna clean it. So let me get some more solution here. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a real soft wipe here. Now, why I like this bleaching solution is because if there's any, along with the surface dust, I'm removing any kind of like oil and bacteria that would just speed up oxidation and degradation of the book. That's the reason it's not just a wipe, but it's a kind of antiseptic sort of clean. So, yeah, I mean, bacteria lives everywhere. So for it to live on paper is not the best thing. I mean, it's not that bacteria would survive long, without water, it's gonna pretty much not survive. But moisture, if the moisture does get in the book, you can have a lot of different, like molds or fungi or bacteria, microbial things living on the book. And this is this Clorox wipe is going to at least eliminate some of that. It's looking a lot. I mean, look at all the dust. Look at the crud that's coming off of that. It's kind of like what I like to see from these sessions. And again, I don't want to be I don't want to manhandle the list books too much. But what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of let it dry here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly apply the eraser again. Just go in that same direction that we were going yesterday. Let's see if we can't just whiten it up a little bit. Let me know if you see a tangible effect on the book. If you see it, if it's noticeably whitening. I do see, I do see it working here on some of this dinge. Right? I'm sure you guys can see it on your end as well. And again, this is not going to be ever graded at CGC or anything like that. It's going to stay raw in a bag and board. And this is going to go to my, it's going to be my son's book someday, or I'll sell it or something. I don't know. We'll see. But see, it's looking a lot better. Yeah. It's improved it a little bit. And just every little bit helps. Again, this paper it's not brittle, but it's getting there. So we just want to be very gentle and we don't want it to tear or do anything like that. All right, I think the last area we could probably touch up is this spine. Let's see if we can. This makes me nervous. I'm just going to do it really in one motion here. Just right along. I'm not applying a lot of pressure. I'm just rolling it over. Looks like I'm picking up something here. Some kind of residue on there. Just gently rubbing it off. Within the book. There we go. This is fun for me. I'm sure on your end, you're just like, man, I gotta fast forward this crap. Why am I watching this? But it's not like I'm there are a lot of other resources where people are pretty much doing the same thing. But, you know, they're doing it with maybe better tools or more experience. But for me, I think what I'd like to show is like, you don't need a lot of experience to work on your books. You just need some patience and you do kind of have to have some resources in your back pocket to know how to approach this. But again, get a nice eraser like this, and you're just rubbing in one motion and putting the lightest of pressure on it so that you're not affecting the gloss and you're not going to tear the book by accident. But yeah, the last thing I'm going to do, and I do this with all of my books, is we have some wood glue here. Okay. And I just use the wood glue to, I mean, this is technically restoration. You're not supposed to put glue or anything on there. But again, this is never going to get graded. And even if it were to get graded, I put such a small amount of glue that I don't think it could really get detected. But see that loose piece right there? What we want, see that loose piece right there? All we wanting to do there with the wood glue is just attaching it. So I'm going to flip it around again and get really good. Okay. So careful if the wood glue doesn't get in around the book. So all I'm going to do there is like attach some wood glue there to the spine. And I'm going to just, boom, stick it on. Ooh. All right, so that's all I'm going to do. And what that'll do is I'll just hold it in place so that it's not going to flake off or fall off. Okay. I do want to let that dry because I don't want it smearing and sticking on the bag and board. So we're just going to let it dry before I put it back in the bag and board. So yeah, I think where we landed on this grade is a 2.0. There's a crease here. It's not color breaking. I think this would improve with the press because there's just, like slight indentations that can be pressed out. Like if you look here, it's not color breaking, but if you get it in the light, you can see right there, right? There's a lot of that on this book, especially, and here's the one, it looks like a crease. I guess it is a crease. It's there, but it's right there along his cape. You see it? I'm trying to get in the light there. There you go. You can see it right there. There's like a crease there. It doesn't break color, but if we were to press it, and this is where pressing really plays. Like, if you're not careful to press that well, it'll exacerbate that break. But if you do press it well, it could smooth it out, and it'd still be visible, but it wouldn't be that noticeable. And there's just a lot of that on this comic book. So, like I mentioned yesterday, I do hope to really get into pressing and working on books at some point. And, it'd just be great to get to this book someday and press out the defects and really get it looking in the best as it can look. I think that's ultimately like just my goal to have just that time to this book is not going to improve that much with the press, but just for my own personal, don't want to do that. Just my own personal preference for having this book. It'd just be a labor of love to get it that press. And geez, why am I having trouble with this here? Well, I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to put the bag in first, and then we'll do it. Okay. I put that in there. Get the book. And we're just going to carefully bring the bag and board it. And we're good. Looks good. Okay, so 2-0 on this one. I think I'm being fairly fair with this grade. Let me know if you think I'm being too positive, or if you maybe if it could be a 2.5, or if it should be lower than a 2.0. But just based off, again, looks great. There are just some small flaws here, very light creases. Again, the biggest issue is that cutout in the spine split, which is about 1 inch. Cover's still intact. Just a very, kind of a dirty book overall. There's oxidation happening on the inside of the cover, a lot on the outside of the cover as well. The pages are getting brittle. They're not quite brittle yet, but they're getting there. So this is a book, we want to try and just keep the temperature. And that's the thing, like my room gets very cold. It remains cool. I think in the summer even it doesn't get too warm. So what you want to avoid is storing it where the temperature fluctuates. But if it's a slow, if it's just warming up slowly, that should be fine. It's just when you have these drastic temperature fluctuations is where that's not good for the book. So, my room is very cold, but it stays cool throughout the year. So I'm just hoping that's enough to keep it all preserved. I do love this book. This is another book that, despite the grade, it's just such a great. I mean, you saw a little preview of the inside, right? Like how wonderful these Silver Age, how jam-packed these Silver Age books are. You got a little Superboy preview section there. You got a little Legion story, Legion of Superheroes story going on. You saw some great comic ads like, Rocky and Bullwinkle and all that stuff. So just great stuff in this comic book, Silver Age book. So yeah, I think I got the back cover looking just a little bit better, nothing drastically better. Just got it maybe a little lighter on the edges there with the eraser. And then again, removing a lot of this dust. We got a lot of dust off the book. That's always a good thing. All right, so moving on to our next book. This one is it's a mid-grade book. Yeah, just off first glance, it's a mid-grade book. I'd put it at a, like a 6.0, just off first glance. And this is a book where the eraser session will have some. We did a similar book, this similar Justice League of America book with the white edges here yesterday. So we're hoping on this book as well, we're going to have some positive outcomes with the erase session. Just want to get all this dinge off the eraser so it's clean surface here. All right. And then, yeah, we're just going to start with the cleaning and then grade the book as well. All right, so as you can see, there's a little bit of a color breaking crease that you could say it's very minor. But again, that's probably what dropped us to the fine range, okay? But then there's, like spine ticks all along. Nothing color breaking really, but just actually one right there. It's sort of like a tear, staple tear right there. A little bit of a. So that's a small or minor defect. Kind of like just blunted corn. Yeah, the spine has sort of like blunting going on. It's not really sharp. Edge corners are actually pretty sharp, as you can see. Let's check out the back. Yeah, again, a lot of opportunity for improvement with the eraser here. So we're going to take this book slow. Work a little magic. Now, this is obviously another book that would benefit from a press, but we're not pressing books in this. Don't have a press, but as you can see, there's a lot of. Let me get in the light here. No, it's hard to do. There we go. You'll see right here. See, there's just a lot of right there. You can see that there's just getting it smooth would eliminate a lot of that. There's a lot of that in the book. You can't see it, but at an angle, I can see it really well. So we're just going to start again with our solution and clean. That's what we're going to do. Just get it very dry here. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to start with the back. Actually, I'm going to start with the front. Just get right along the spine first. Very gentle pressure. Then we'll up the pressure a little bit. Yeah, you can see I am already seeing a lot of dinge come off the book, which is great. That's kind of what the point of this was, to just get it looking really clean. Just gonna use the back of this now. That looks better already. Looks so much cleaner already. Now, I got this book. I think I overpaid for this book, to be honest. It's not really a key. And I paid, I think, $3 for this book, which in hindsight is like, we could probably have gotten this book for lower, maybe like $1. But it's just such a nice, just love this era of DC Comics. So if we can, again, get it looking like above the mid-grade that we assessed the book at initially, then I don't feel bad about paying $3 for this book. And it's already looking that way. Like, it just looks a lot glossier with that rub down we just gave it. This is what's coming off the book, off both books. So I'm not changing pads here. All right, so we're just going to do the same along the back of this book. Yeah, the paper on this is still very, very good. It's not, it's very supple still. That's what you want to see on older books, just like supple paper, not dry. All right, so now that we're on the back here, I think we can just start. Yeah, it looks so much better. I mean, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing on the camera, but it just looks a lot better than when we first pulled it out. All right, so here we're just going to take the eraser again, and we're going to just work our way. I'm going to do along the spine first. Spine is looking very dingy, so we're just going to go down. And we're going to take our time on this one. Can't tell if I'm getting it necessarily wider or cleaner, but I'm hoping it is having It's just not, I just don't see it like a visual transformation as I'm doing it, but hoping when I look at it later, like maybe a before and after shot, it will show that it's working. Just gonna lightly go down all the way. Okay. It still looks pretty brown to me, but and I know on your end it's not looking like it's having an effect. But we're just gonna do the edges, just kind of do our due diligence. Since we started the process, we want to just be thorough and I am seeing something here. Yeah, I'm seeing something come off. It's getting wider. Yeah. It's getting wider on this edge at least. I see a dramatic effect. Okay. Yeah, I do see, I'm going to hold it up there. You can kind of see where, like sections of it where it's brown and then sections of it where it's lightened up. I hope you can see that. So we've had, it's having a, now it's not uniform, it's in terms of the lightness, it's not uniform, but I think if we just work along this edge here, we could get it to get a little bit more uniform. There we go. All right. I think it's looking good. Just gonna get this top edge here. This edge here doesn't look so bad, so I'm not gonna focus on it. I'm just gonna get this top edge. Yeah, that's looking a lot better right there. There's this like residue at the top. Now with the eraser, it's slowly coming off. Boom. I'd say it looks pretty good. The top there, see there was residue there. Got some of it off. I'm not seeing any like gloss loss, so that's a good thing. And the spine looks cleaner. So overall, I'm not like it does appear like it's improving a little bit. It's not like a drastic change, just a very subtle change that I'm noticing. So I don't mind that I'm doing that. I don't feel like I'm not doing a disservice to this book by doing that. Just gonna focus on this white area here. Very light pressure. Get it looking a little bit lighter along the spine here. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I am feeling a little bit more comfortable with the pressure I'm putting on the book. It's still light, but it's enough to kind of lift off and get it a little larger. All right, now I'm going to flip it around to the bottom half of the book. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Just gonna do this section here again. All right, now we're gonna just lightly do here on the white areas only. Oh boy. That wasn't good. Kind of put a crease on the cover. Luckily, it's not on the, it's not on any of the colored parts. So with the press, it would just blend in. But yeah, I mean, I gotta be careful. This is not what I wanted to do. So I was just kind of rushing there, as you saw. Maybe more deliberate. Yeah, this definitely needs a press now with that corner. But I mean, again, luckily it's not a deep crease. It'll press out, but it could have been real bad. All right, so what this is teaching me is just to, especially on like fortunately this isn't like a big book, but you've got to really just go slow, don't feel rushed, and just take your time. Think of this as like surgery. You don't want to kill your patient. And I feel like we're very fortunate there. That so it's, I'm going to show you what it looks like. We kind of were racing, and then this, you can see the crease there, right? But luckily it's not. Again, that'll press out. But yeah, I mean, as is, it's very apparent that there's a crease. All right, so we didn't really count the pages or do anything, take a look at the book. So I'm just gonna do it so that you can actually see as we count. Beautiful, beautiful book here. George Perez, John Beatty, story by Jerry Conway. All right, so we got one page. I hope there's nothing missing out of this book. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 32 pages. Yeah. All right, so nothing mixing out of the book. And again, I really want to get this corner kind of just do a thumb press here so that we don't continue to have issues with that corner. Again, this will eventually get pressed when I get around to it as part of that future project. But for now, we're going to just do a nice thumb press, get that creasing the other way, and it should be good to go back in the bag. So overall, I'm going to give this, again, there's no major creasing, just a lot of sort of minor, small to minor issues. So I'm going to give this very similar to what we did yesterday with the Justice League of America book. This is going to be 6.0, 6.5, put it in that range. It's a mid-grade book, but it really presents well. And again, with the pressing all of these defects, I really think it has the opportunity to be like a 7.0 at the end of the day. But again, I'm just going to put it as a 6.0, 6.5. Put it as a 6. Conservatively put it at a 6.0, especially with that there now. unless we press it out, it's definitely a 6/7. So yeah, nice book. All right, moving on to this next book. We're just going to grade this. I don't think it needs necessarily. So I have 2 copies. I'm going to just kind of analyze both copies here. This is a book I just didn't mean to pick up 2 copies. I thought I didn't have it in my collection when I bought it for the second time, but after checking, I realized, oh, it's a book I already have. So we're going to do this first copy first, and then we'll move to the other one. Now, just on first glance, there's a bend here. I don't know if you can see it, but it doesn't really break color. See that right there? There's a bend. I'm just gonna. The spine is actually really in good shape. There's like one spine tick along with that bend. Nothing breaks color. So again, this is something we'd want to press. Looking on the back, again, just minor spine ticks here. Maybe 2 that break color. Corners are still sharp. Gloss is still good on the book. So yeah, overall, I would put this in the with a press in the VF plus range. You guys are going to get a treat with the Silvestri art here. So we're just going to count the pages and 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh man, these Konami ads take me back. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like it's correct.